Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope you guys all have had a wonderful day. We have an important video to break down talking about Palantir possibly joining the Nasdaq-100 tomorrow. But let's start off with this important clip from Dan Ives regarding a statement on Palantir.
Twitter at 3 a.m. What they've missed in Palantir and CARP, it's one of the best technologies ever to come out. Now, we talk about NVIDIA and GPU, new oil, gold. What they've come out with AIP, it's now going after enterprise. My view on Palantir is they could be the next Oracle, the next Salesforce. I mean, that's where I see this going over the next 5-10 years. Who's the next Oracle? I think Palantir.
If you're calling Palantir the next Oracle or Salesforce, I mean, that's a big call. My first thought is, despite the run, Palantir's stock might still be undervalued.
But that's our view. I mean, our view on Palantir is, many will be, it's expensive on next year earnings. They said the same thing about Salesforce, Apple, Amazon, Meta. The point is, where is it over the next 3, 4, 5 years as they built out AIP on the enterprise? The AI revolution, we're talking about trillions of AI CapEx. How are you going to build the use cases?
We can stop it right there, but coming out with a prediction that Palantir from Dan Ives could be the next Oracle Salesforce in terms of its actual valuation, how large the company could become, and kind of how we actually interpret what Palantir is doing in terms of bringing utility to AI and really doing that in an enterprise way and utilizing AIP to go after enterprise. That's what they're doing right now, and why we've been seeing a lot of steam pulling into Palantir now with the possibility of possibly getting included into the Nasdaq-100. Just last year, a lot of people probably wouldn't be expecting this. So let's get into the details that you need to know. We hit 20,000 subscribers. We beat the goal by the end of the year. Thank you guys so much. We couldn't have done it without you. Hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, not a financial advisor, collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now, Palantir Technologies here, sitting at 73.20. Comes up about 1% in the day and now about another percent in the after hours. Currently on Robinhood's overnight trading is trading at 73.67 for what we're seeing for after hours activity. And a lot of people are anticipating the possible inclusion or the announcement into the Nasdaq-100. We're going to be talking about what possible stocks could be joining along, and what stocks, of course, if they're going in, what stocks could be possibly coming out. One thing that I do want to pay attention to here is you have a lot of call volume at the 75, the 76, and even the $77 strike price. A lot of options activity coming in. So we could see a lot of volatility coming into Palantir specifically tomorrow. Now, interesting article here. We're going to be breaking it down. Could Palantir, also with MicroStrategy and Axon Enterprises, all join the QQQ tomorrow? We're going to be getting into why this would be incredibly bullish, specifically for Palantir. Now, as we talked about in the previous few videos, we know that the Nasdaq-100 is expected to announce its rebalance, or what we call the reconstitution, that could see several different companies entering into the Nasdaq-100. Now, this rebalance or reconstitution only happens annually, once a year. So this is a very major event for possible stocks to achieve this milestone and this accomplishment, and just for the market, because a lot of money tracks this specific index. Now, key points to talk about here is, what is the Nasdaq-100? We all know, a lot of people do, but if you don't, this is an index of the 100 of the largest companies trading on the Nasdaq stock market. And this is why we saw Palantir that recently moved over to the Nasdaq to hopefully get inclusion into this. And we have a lot of big ETFs and investors that are trying to get a piece of a growth and more of an aggressive type portfolio. They typically purchase ETFs that do track the index of the top 100 stocks because they're mainly focused on tech stocks and new and upcoming stocks, such as Palantir. This is why it's important, and specifically big, and one of the biggest ones that a lot of you have probably heard of, the QQQ, the ticker symbol QQQ, has $329 billion in assets leverage for tracking the Nasdaq-100. And this is just one of the ETFs. You have many ETFs that do actually track this. So why Palantir, MicroStrategy, and Axon might be moving into this area is because Palantir right now is actually valued pretty high over a lot of the stocks within the Nasdaq-100. And it's important to know also, once this rebalancing does occur, the actual trading for that to happen doesn't happen until December 23rd. That's where we're going to see more passive buying. People not even knowing what Palantir is are already going to be buying it, and they kind of already are. A lot of funds are with their inclusion into the S&P 500. So recently, Bloomberg had tweeted their predictions for what companies were likely to be included into the rebalance. So this is not a guarantee, but interesting to see here that Bloomberg does come out, and here's a summary of their predictions. They predict Palantir, MicroStrategy, Axon Enterprises to be added, and the stocks to be removed are Supermicro and Moderna. Now, Moderna, as we've known from the whole pandemic era, its market capitalization has actually sunk since then, and shares are down over 45% in the past year, and the company's worth $16 billion. And if you look at market cap right now at Palantir at $166 billion, you can see how highly weighted Palantir is compared to some of these other stocks within the index. And also, in addition, Supermicro right here may fall out of the Nasdaq-100 as it continues to battle delisting from the index and has seen its own market capitalization fall down to $22.2 billion. So in addition to this type of an index, I think would be a major milestone and would only be bullish for Palantir down in its future. Yes, we could see and continue to see a run up for Palantir, especially since we've seen resistance at that 80. Could an inclusion like this push it past 80 into the end of the year with a lot of the stocks that have been doing well? And we've seen the markets that have been rallying pretty crazy and have had a great rebound this week. Nonetheless, Palantir is trading at a high price. But if we go back talking about valuation that is disconnected right now, go back to what Dan Ives said. He said that he's looking at Palantir not right at this moment, but what do they do in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of bringing utility and AI to enterprise? Look at all the things that they've done in a year. What does the next 5 to 10 years bring? And I think that shows you the amount of anticipation that a lot of investors do have behind Palantir, and they have continued to deliver with a lot of their earnings calls. They've been exceeding expectations for multiple earnings calls. So yes, they have a high valuation right now, but the trendiness behind it is showing no signs of slowing down. And we give a market update here. We see stocks actually coming down slightly on the day. In terms of the broader market, you have the S&P down about 0.5%, the Nasdaq down about 0.6%. That's okay to me because we've seen a big rally over the past few days after we had that surge of stocks across the board on Wednesday. We saw large caps like Google, Tesla really soaring. Economic data, though, kind of brought a little bit of a pullback and just a little bit of a cool off. Nothing too dramatic. Economic data released this morning did set a negative tone here. The monthly report on producer prices showed that basically wholesale inflation last month was higher than economists had expected, and weekly jobless claims numbers were also disappointed. This is showing you that inflationary pressures persist, but nonetheless, and despite this stubborn inflation, that's kind of, achieving the soft landing. That's the goal of the Fed. However, even though it's sticking around, we're still seeing the Fed that is in this rate cut cycle, and markets are predicting about a 97% chance that they're actually going to still continue to cut the benchmark Fed's fund rate. That's all going to be details that we'll be talking about next week after the Fed has its meeting. 10-year Treasury yields correlated with expectations. Basically kind of sitting around the same, about 4.3, high 4.2%. And talking about market open tomorrow, Google and Tesla have still been doing incredibly well. And remember, Google had the announcement of their quantum computing chip and also working with artificial intelligence, trying to be a leader there with Gemini 2.0. And you're having a lot of optimism also, in addition to regulatory appointments seen as friendly to the company. So a lot of announcements, a lot of anticipation happening behind Google right now. They're having a great recovery from kind of being somewhat stagnant, not being, I want to say, as competitive as some of these other big companies that we've been seeing really taking off this year. Tesla continuing to do well across the board. So interesting to see. We'll be on the edge of our seats, waiting to see if Palantir does get included into this index. If not, for some reason, I think that's where we're going to see a stronger pullback. And that's because a lot of people are anticipating for them to be included into the 100. What do you think about this news? Do you think it's going to happen? What do you think about what happened in the market? Peace out. Take care. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later.